I've tried a few different dice box solutions, but they've never been able to fit everything I need, and I inevitably end up with a bunch of loose pieces banging around in my backpack. So with almost no design or 3D printing experience, I decided to design and build my own. And because I'm leaving on a trip, and I suffer from too many projects, don't know my own limits-itis, I only have a week to do it. I don't mean to brag, but it went pretty terribly. But I did end up with something I'm super happy with. I'm going to show you how you could design something like this yourself, some resources for how to print this affordably if you don't have a 3D printer, which I don't, or how you could build this out of other materials. I'm also going to tell you about Lorrog, a super easy to use and stylish campaign management tool later in the video. Thank you so much to Lorrog for sponsoring this video. Welcome to the table. I'm Kelly, and I'm going to design a box. How hard could it be? When I first started playing D&D, I was all about the aesthetics, so I made this. It looked better in the tutorial. But this was not functional in any way, and I'm a function-first person. I like Costco zip-away pants. It's pants and shorts in one. What's not to like? They're perfect for any temperature. But I have to keep them in a secret location in our house, otherwise Loren will accidentally rip them to shreds and burn the remains because she thinks they spit in the face of everything good in this world. Anyways, so then I hard pivoted back the other way and I got the zip-away pants of dice boxes, this tiny pelican case. My dice were so safe that they could outlast Twinkies in an apocalypse. The Pelican case fit my dice and my spell cards, and for a time, I was happy. But then I got more dice, and then I got a mini, and then I wanted to take notes, and then I got high-level spells, so I had to roll 10d6s. I also grew as a person. I have a mustache now. I wear button-ups with tiny patterns on them. I know what 0% APR financing means. That's not true. No one knows what that means. So, it was time to say goodbye.
Even if the road ahead is long and winding, even if the road behind us left you crying.
It says I'm supposed to do a salt burn now? I don't know what that is. Dude, get to the video. Sorry. Okay, let's make a plan. The box needs to be as compact as possible. That's really important. It needs to hold 3 sets of dice, pens or pencils, a notebook, spell cards, standard size or tarot size, and it would be cool if it had a dice tower too. And it needs to look cool as well, because of the thumbnail. I mean, because I've grown as a person. To design this, I'm gonna be using a free browser-based tool that's meant to teach kids how to use CAD programs, but it's great for any beginners. CAD stands for Computer-Aided Design, and it's a category of software used in engineering, architecture, product design, and many other fields. The online tool is called Tinkercad. It only took me a couple of hours of playing around to feel fully comfortable with it, and just using the basic shapes, you can make some really complex stuff. To figure out the size of the box, I measured the largest object that needed to go inside, which is the notebook. I decided to use a little hipster notebook because, I mean, look at me. But that also happens to be a fairly standard size for small notebooks, so you could use anything from the dollar store. After some more measuring and some more tinkering, I landed on the first version of my design. I don't actually have a 3D printer, but I have access to one through work, and they very kindly allowed me to print these on it. I looked into some alternatives for getting access to 3D printers, and it turns out there are a number of great options that don't require you to remortgage your house and sell your firstborn child, and I'll go over those in a bit. After diving into the 3D printing subreddit and watching as many 3D printing YouTube videos as I could, I still had no idea what I was doing. So with the surprising and unearned confidence of me growing my first mustache, I just went for it. Before I show you the results, I want to tell you about a really easy to use but powerful campaign management tool. Thank you so much to Lorrog for sponsoring this video. Lorrog's real power comes from its simplicity and ease of use. Immediately after opening the page, you're greeted with an unintimidating interface that stays out of your way and lets you easily record and recall your campaign information. One of my favorite things is that you can do everything within your session note, allowing you to both build your world in prep, but also during play. Just by typing the @ symbol, you bring up a context menu that allows you to link to another note, or create one if it doesn't exist. Then once you link something, that link is automatically color-coded by type, so you can easily see your links in the page. If you click on a link, it'll take you to that note where you can add more detail. One thing that I really struggled with when creating my campaign vault was trying to decide on a note structure. Lorrog takes care of that for you, and it organizes everything in a very logical way. Characters, NPCs, locations, items, etc. are each in their own category on the left side, and then your main notes are organized into sessions and arcs. Each item can also be part of a group, which means you can create factions under the NPC category or a kingdom under the locations category. If you're looking for a clean but powerful campaign management tool, then check out Lorrog at the link below and get started for free. Okay, the exterior came out really great. I'm super happy with it. The detail looks really, really good. I think the D20 looks awesome, but like you can barely see the layer lines. Really pleased. There's one major problem though, and that is my dice don't actually fit in the insert. I can't fit 3 sets of dice, even the regular size dice, and then I realized that the dice I made a few videos ago are oversized, and so they definitely don't fit. If my dice box can't even fit my dice that I made, then that's kind of embarrassing. So I also added the spell slot tracker to pack even more functionality into this thing, and even though I think it's cool, it's not super necessary. Also, the dice tower idea I had means that I can't fit my notebook in the box anymore. So the first version is kind of a bust. All right, back to the drawing board, or tinker board, I guess. With only 3 days left at this point, I was starting to feel the time crunch. Because the shell and box takes 11 hours to print and the insert takes 5 hours, I really only had time to do one more version before I had to print the final version. Here are the problems we still need to solve. Number 1, the dice need to fit. That's a big one. The dice tower needs to be smaller. I realized I need to be able to fit my mini in here, otherwise I'll still be carrying a separate case. If you don't completely fill the upper part of the box with spell cards and a notebook, then your dice are gonna go everywhere. And last, there's no latch, so if you put this in your bag, it'll just slide open and dump your stuff everywhere. Okay, great. Easy. First thing, I ditched the spell slot tracker to make more room for dice. I then tried out a few different configurations for the dice and added in a spot for my mini. I realized that having the dice all sit next to one another instead of having individual slots was much more efficient. I also took the top off the pen slot to make more room, and because the printer wasn't printing the top and bottom of the cylinder very well. For the dice tower, in the interest of saving space, I made it less of a tower and more of a ramp, but it still provides the same functionality. Just insert these pieces when you're playing and store them flat when you're done. Last thing, I added a flexing tab to the outer shell to keep everything in place while in transit. After a quick ritual sacrifice to the 3D print gods, I sent it off. This is the tab I made to hold the box closed, and it broke coming off the printer bed. So if it can't even survive coming off the print bed, then it's way too weak. I also made the walls of the insert too thin and they cracked immediately. The floor of the insert hasn't broken yet, but it's the same thickness as the walls, so I think I just need to strengthen everything, thicken everything up, and then go again. Also, even though I made a lid for the dice compartment, there's no way to latch it, so it's literally useless. I don't know what I was thinking. I gotta come up with a latch for that. And most importantly, it still doesn't fit 3 sets of dice. It's so close though. It's like 2 dice away from 3 sets. So I think I've got it figured out and the next one should be good. Feeling optimistic, as I am, I went back and made some final adjustments. At 11 p.m. the night before I needed to film this video, I sent the project to the printer and watched with bated breath, praying nothing would go wrong. But after the first few layers, it completely came unstuck from the print bed. So I peeled myself off the couch and drove to work to clean off the plate and restart the print. It is midnight right now, and this is my 3rd attempt to get this to stick to the bed. I really hope this one works. It's a 9.5 hour print, so if it fails, then I can't film my video tomorrow, so. Arriving the next day at work, I was so happy to see the print had succeeded, and this version was perfect. Well, not perfect, but I'm really happy with it, and it's what I'm going to be using. In the future, I plan on adding some gold paint to the front D20 design, but I ran out of time. But for now, it's finished. The final version fits 3 sets of dice, including my own oversized dice, my mini, my pen and pencil, notebook, spell cards, oversized item cards, and you can lock everything in place even if you don't fill the top half. If you want to print this yourself, the file's available on my Patreon at the $5 tier, along with all the settings I used and a bunch of other stuff like modular magic item cards, terrain change cards, and extra content. The link's down in the description. But I don't have a 3D printer, you might say. I went looking around at 3D print services, and I was shocked at the cost. I know the quality will be better, but at those prices, you would pay off an entry-level printer pretty quickly. But I found a surprising number of other more affordable options. The first place is just to ask around in your friend group. 3D printing is quickly becoming more popular, and the chances of you knowing someone who knows someone who has a 3D printer is pretty high. But if you don't have any personal connections, I found that many libraries in my local area have 3D printers, and they only charge $1 per hour plus a small setup fee. I also found that there's a Facebook group for 3D printing enthusiasts in my area, and you can pay a small fee to have them print stuff for you. The last option I came across was a makerspace in my city that has 3D printers. The membership is a little more than those other options, but if you're interested in making other stuff, they have all kinds of tools like laser cutters, CNC machines, lathes, and all kinds of stuff. If you aren't interested in 3D printing, you could absolutely make this out of other materials. box, just using some hand tools. You could make it from thin sheets of wood like I used in my DM screen video, or you could even use foam core or cardboard. At its core, it's just a box that slides inside another box with some troughs for dice. But I don't like to say that because then it seems unreasonable that designing a simple box was this difficult. If you want to see how I made the spell card accordions that I use and some more cool projects, you can check out this video here. I appreciate you.